Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Sips. Hi, Aiden. How's it? Um, you've been playing in the IPL. You've got starts, I think, just about every time. Batting a lot in the middle order as well. Just how good an experience has that been for you? And yeah, how have you enjoyed it? Did anyone hear that question?
I did. I just wonder if Aiden did.
I don't think he did. Doesn't know the question.
Yeah, let's give him another couple of seconds. Apologies, everybody. It looks like Aiden's struggling with his mute button. Um, okay, there. I can see that you're unmuted, Aiden. Ken, would you like to ask your question again?
Sure. Okay. Thanks, Sips. Hi, Aiden. You've been playing in the IPL. Made starts and I think just about every innings you've played, batting in the middle order as well. Just how good an experience has that been for you, and how have you enjoyed being in the IPL?
Apologies, Ken. It looks like he's disconnected. Oh my word. I'm so sorry, everybody. He's just coming off so that he can try to get back on again.
We've had hundreds of Zoom meetings. It is bound to happen that one would go wrong.
Oh. Okay, Ken, third time's the charm. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Sips. Hi, Aiden, again. You've been playing in the IPL. I think you got starts in every innings, batting in the middle order as well. Just how good an experience has that been for you, playing in the IPL, and how did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was very enjoyable. Obviously different to how I think a lot of normal teams work, and nice to be able to experience it. I think it was nice to get out in the conditions, yeah, where we're going to play the World Cup. So that was also a big positive, and to play in a slightly or less familiar role for myself was also a nice challenge and a lot of learning that took place. So I think all in all, the trip for the few weeks that I was with the Kings team was a good few weeks.
Alfred?
How's it, Aiden? You're unusually qualified to know what it's like to win a World Cup as a South African. And I just wondered, what are the differences between a junior or an under-19 World Cup and a senior World Cup? You know, the differences, I'm sure, in pressures and media attention and those things. What are some of the differences from a player's point of view?
Yeah, I think that's the first thing that comes to mind is the pressures is obviously a lot more. It's quite this whole tournament or any World Cup is quite a high pressure sort of environment, and ultimately under all that pressure you need to put performances together as individuals to help the team win, but also put performances together as a team. So that's probably the biggest difference, I would say. I think at under 19 level there's not too much of that. At the time there wasn't too much media exposure and a lot less pressure on the players to sort of bring a trophy back home. So pretty much, I don't think too many things change. I think you experience sort of the same types of things, but everything's just a lot more exaggerated, I feel, at a big World Cup, be it T20 or 50 over.
Aiden, I have a question from Ongama, who's struggling with his network. He's asking, how has the IPL grown your game, if it has?
I'm not sure if it has or hasn't. But it was a great experience. Like I said, was in a slightly less familiar role, and it was nice to be able to be exposed to that at also quite a high pressure and pretty much seriously good standard of cricket. So I think it was nice to be exposed to it and to be able to learn sort of on the job. And then obviously to mingle with some seriously good players that do the IPL circuit, post games, mingling between teams, chatting to guys that have done well in IPL cricket and pretty much legends of T20 cricket. So it was nice to sponge some information off of them, and also to try work things out sort of for yourself out in the middle of a game, which was good.
Aditya, followed by Heinz and then Amir.
How's it, Aiden? Just to follow up on that question, the number of games that you played, most of them went down to the wire, and there was pressure whether you were batting first or you were chasing. So how does that help you sort of evolve your game and, get used to the degree of pressure involved?
I think it can only have helped. Like you say, all our games were incredibly close, and we would have liked to have got over the line more times than we did, but unfortunately wasn't the case. But I think in T20 cricket, be it at a World Cup or generally in any series that you play in, be it domestic, international, results and games always come down to at least within that last 2 or 3 overs, if it's not going down to the last ball. So it's always high pressure. There's always it's always going down to the wire. So I think it was good to be exposed to that now and experience that with the Kings team. Because I'm pretty sure going into this World Cup, it's going to be similar. Games are going to go down to the wire, and it's about dealing with that pressure out there in the moment when maybe 2 to 3 balls could potentially change the whole outcome of the game.
Heinz?
Thanks, Superkazi. Hi, Aiden. Just talking about, the how your game might have evolved in the IPL and stuff. I suppose one of the other big lessons that one has to learn is also tactical awareness, because, I mean, it's easy for people to assume that given that you batted a bit down the order, that there might be times we are just required to go from the start and stuff. But sometimes early wickets fall as well, and you're in the middle order and you need to consolidate. So I suppose there's a lot of considerations actually to take. I mean, one day you might be required to smash 20 off 6. The other day you might have to, make a solid 40. I suppose that also helps, with all the different scenarios you might experience in a World T20.
Yes, yeah. I think that's probably the biggest challenge of batting in the middle order, and sometimes you have the freedom to go out and you just have to get on with it. But having said that, just because you have that freedom still doesn't mean it's an easy task. So I think I've never really experienced it before, but to think of guys that finish games well and finish innings well in terms of high strike rates and ability to find the boundary, having just walked into the creases, something that I've got a new really high appreciation for those guys who do it consistently well. But then you get the other side, like you've mentioned, where you might walk in and a team is 30 for 3 and you need to build a partnership and sort of get to something that's half defendable on the day. So your skill set has to be pretty much one of the two, I would say. And ultimately, none of them are easy, but it's something that does have to get done. So if you're tactically aware, like you mentioned, and generally on the side, we're quite good as a team that we chat often amongst players with the coaches, seeing what's required at any given time, and it changes from over to over. But the communication is always very good, so it makes those tactical decisions quite a lot easier when we're chatting amongst each other like we do.
Amir, followed by Morgan, and then we'll go back to Ken.
Thank you, Sibukazi. Good afternoon, all. Good afternoon, Aiden. Yeah, as mentioned, you've had a small stint in the IPL this season. Could you just give us your assessment of the conditions, and then also what your approach will be, heading into what is going to be quite a big tournament in about a week? Thank you.
Yeah, the conditions, they actually weren't too bad. I think each ground was actually very different, especially in terms of how the wicket played. So that was something that I didn't really expect. I thought it would be quite a generic way that all the wickets play, but each ground had its own different set of challenges. So that was something nice to experience, especially before a big tournament like that, or like this that's going to happen now. But generally, not the easiest to bat on, but once the batter gets in, I think as you saw during the IPL, he can still win the game and take the game away from the opposition. But generally, it's tougher for the newer batter that comes in these conditions. I think we saw Sharjah probably is the toughest batting wicket at the moment out of the three venues here, which was strange. Obviously, everyone expected it to be a really good batting wicket, but yeah, that one's certainly been the toughest. And then Abu Dhabi, by the looks of things, has probably been one of the nicer ones to bat on. So, like I've mentioned, they're all very different, but in the general, taking place off the ball has been a go-to for a lot of the teams, and bowling the spinners in the right time is a really attacking move. But also, if you go the other way and bowl them in the wrong sort of period of the game, it has backfired on teams. So getting that decision right would be quite important, I think. And then, like I said, teams have used a lot of change of pace in the IPL, and yeah, that's pretty much it, I think.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Folks, and then Ken.
Thanks, Sips. Thanks, Ken. Hi, Aiden. Apologies if this has been asked already, but the news of the last hour or two coming out of South Africa is that the government has gazetted the opening of sports stadiums. Of course, your focus is on the World Cup now, but with quite a big summer lying ahead, a couple of important ODIs and a very big test series, you guys must be happy to have some fans back in attendance when you get back home.
Yes, I actually wasn't even aware of that, but I'd seen in the past few weeks there was chat that it was going to be allowed, so that's actually awesome news to hear. I think us as players are always relish playing in front of crowds, and we know the crowds in South Africa support us really well and just really love the game of cricket. So it'll be nice to have them back in the stadiums. I'm assuming it won't be full capacity, but at least there's some will be a lot better than none. So I think it's a win-win for everyone. It'll be nice for us as players to play in front of crowds again, and I think it'll be very enjoyable for the crowds to get back out into the stadiums and enjoy watching cricket and just ultimately having a good time at the stadiums around the country.
Thanks, Aiden.
Ken, Percy, I see your hand.
Hi, Aiden. Again, 2019 World Cup in England, obviously totally different conditions, different format. But are there any lessons that you guys can take from that tournament? Obviously didn't go well, so maybe lessons of what not to do.
Off the top of my head, I think first things first is obviously our squad is quite a lot different, and especially in terms of your guys that play key roles and then that start in your 11, it is quite different. So it's quite hard. We haven't had too many chats about that World Cup, to be honest. So off the top of my head, I think obviously generally for each team you've got plans, but conditions might not suit those plans. So I know maybe one thing here or there in the 2019 World Cup, we had plans before matches. Conditions didn't allow for those plans, and we almost didn't have something else to fall back on. So that's been addressed here, and we've got a way of cricket that we'd like to play against each team as well. But if conditions of the day don't allow that, then we have to be a bit more smarter and have another plan to go back on. So developing those plans, but also as players having the skill set to fall back onto something else and trusting in that change of plan has been important. So I think you've seen, I would hope, over the last sort of, call it 12 to 18 months, how the team has certainly upskilled themselves. So it's an exciting time, but yeah, that'll be probably the biggest thing that we can take from the 2019 World Cup.
Percy?
Thank you so much, Sibukazi. Good afternoon, Aiden. Aiden, can I just ask you maybe the easiest question? Just remind us again, what exactly is your role going to be in the showpiece? Is it solely as a batter, or are you entering this competition as a more of an all-rounder this time around?
I wouldn't say I'm an all-rounder. I'll definitely keep working on the bowling side of things, though, and if it's required on the day that there's a role for me to play with the ball, then I'll try my best to be as ready for that situation as I can be. But yeah, I think it'll come down to the day. It'll come down to selection as well. T20 cricket, the best bowlers in the world can travel the distance. So you need guys that might have to bowl the odd over here or there to make up for that bowler. So that would probably be my role, I would assume. But we, in the next few days, have got chats about sort of role clarity and things like that for specifically the World Cup. So I'm assuming we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But yeah, I wouldn't definitely not say it's a full all-rounder role, that's for sure.
Thanks, Aiden. And I've got one more question from Ongama. What sort of conversations has the team had to try and ensure that we don't find ourselves in similar situations as we did in 2019? I think it's something similar to what Ken has asked.
Yeah, well, like I mentioned, the squad is different to what it was in 2019. So we're not bringing too much baggage into this World Cup. So that's a really big positive for us. The guys that are here, everyone's pretty free-spirited and everyone's, I don't think, too sort of phased about being at an event like the World Cup in a good way, I say that. So that's a good thing. Everyone's very calm for the time being so far. And I think that's a good thing going into the World Cup. So obviously we'll try not make the same mistakes that we did in 2019, but obviously it is a different format. We're in completely different conditions, and we've pretty much got a completely different side. So hopefully amongst all of that, there's some good that can come from the next few weeks. Yeah.
Last two questions, Valen, and then we'll close off with Percival.
Thank you so much, Sibukazi. Very good afternoon, Aiden. Can you just help us understand what a day actually looks like? There's 12 days before you guys actually play your opener of the T20 World Cup. So what happens like on a daily basis within the team?
Pretty much training every day. I think there's 2 warm-up games that are scheduled as well. So often guys will have gym sessions either side of training. So if we've got an afternoon training, guys will be in the gym in the morning and then head to training in the afternoon. It's actually quite hot here still. We thought it would have maybe cooled down quite a bit, but it's still extremely hot. So when we're not busy training or anything like that, then it's really about resting, doing a lot of recovery work and mingling just with each other, sort of having dinners and just catching up, because it's pretty much a full squad together. I think we're just missing 3 guys now, so it's nice for everyone sort of to touch base again and catch up and have the friendship side of things involved as well, and it's not just work the whole time. So I hope that helps and answers your question.
Thank you.
And Percival?
Thank you again, Sibukazi. Sibukazi, Aiden, sorry. I just want to ask a similar question to what Valen asked you, perhaps, but slightly different. We're still not living in normal times. Maybe just give us a bit of insight into how you guys have to prepare. And do you think this World Cup will be normal for you guys taking part? I'm not even sure if there's going to be full capacity crowd and stuff like that. Just give us an idea of what the circumstances are going to be like.
Yeah, well, I mean, we are still in a bubble, and the bubble is quite strict as well. But I think we pretty much used to it by now. It almost feels like the norm. in terms of training, we get an allocated time per day to practice, and normally outside of COVID, they'd be quite lenient with that if we went overtime or came slightly earlier. But with COVID, it's a lot more structured. I think they'd obviously have to clean up and get things sanitized before the next team practices. So that's quite a strict schedule. So I think structuring trainings has become, or was a challenge initially. I think we've nailed that as from a management side, definitely nailed that. And in terms of the games of the World Cup itself, if I'm not mistaken, I think there's quite a high percentage of people that are going to be allowed into the stadium to watch. So there's definitely going to be decent sized crowds, which is exciting for us. So I think that'll give the World Cup as much of a normal feel as possible. Obviously, you won't have 100%, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, up to 75%, maybe, if I'm not wrong, can come watch. So that'll make for a great vibe. It'll create a good atmosphere. It'll obviously bring some more pressure and the adrenalines that are associated with the World Cup. So that'll be, will make it as normal as I would say usual, if that makes sense.
Thanks so much, Aiden. And yeah, just to confirm that it is 75% crowd attendance for the T20 World Cup. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. I'll make this audio and video available as soon as it's ready. Have a lovely afternoon. I will put out as soon as we get our proper practice schedule. I will put the media and training schedule out. But until then, we'll chat to you guys soon. I will try and send out some content, not tomorrow, but Wednesday. And then hopefully by then we'll have a complete practice schedule for you guys to be able to do your planning. Have a great afternoon. And if anybody needs anything, please don't hesitate to contact me directly. Keep well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you, guys.